Hey yo, peace family, Grand Rising. Welcome to another episode of Triple L. This is episode 2 of season 1. We're going to be talking about gratitude today. What's up, buddy? I'd like to give a special shout out to the Most High, as well as my ancestors. Thank you for guiding me. And a special shout out to all my subscribers, the new ones and the old ones. Furthermore, I'd like to thank the lovely Julia and my big bro YB. Y'all did a lot for me. Appreciate you. So without further ado, finna hop right in. Let's talk about gratitude, right? So, as I said, I'm grateful for you guys. I'm grateful for this opportunity to impart what I've learned and document it in a digital format. Because the thing about digitized products is that they last forever. There is no end to a digital program, right? So I'll give you a good example, and this is one of the reasons I started one of my businesses called Legacy Imprints. Legacy Imprints takes people's story and turns it from paper to podcast, right? So the reason that I created this company is because my grandfather died when I was 2 years old, and I didn't really get a good chance to know him. Furthermore, because he lived in a time where technology was still evolving and growing, they didn't really have a good grasp, or at least as good as a grasp that I have on the benefits that technology can have. Because we often like to knock and talk about the negatives that technology has, but as negative as it is, it's also positive. It's a tool that can be utilized, right? So what I do with Legacy Imprints, as I stated before, is that I take stories and I turn them from paper to podcast. Why do I do this? I'll give you an example. Let's say you had a house fire, right? All of your documents, all of your family pictures, all of your journals, all of this memorabilia up in smoke. It's gone. You don't have it anymore, right? And you might remember it, but we all know that the mind is finite. Not the mind, but our mind, the physical mind, is finite. Therefore, we don't know how long we'll be able to remember X, Y, and Z. This, that, and the third. So what we do at Legacy Imprints is we have a conversation. We turn it into a podcast. And I've done a few of these already, and I'm looking forward to doing more. But that's one of my intentions in 2024, is to travel the world and document different stories in a format that can be digitized so that there is no breaking it down. Because I have my own website, because I have my own backend, and because I am technologically advanced, I have certain systems. And you all are aware of what a cloud is. Your iCloud, right? Your Google Drive. These things are very anti-fragility, right? They're not fragile. They obviously are not impenetrable. They can be hacked. They can be tarnished. There can be, things like that. But the reason I've started this company is because of gratitude. I want to express gratitude to other people. And one thing, as this is Leo's Linguistic Library, I like to give you guys tidbits of information. And one tidbit that I'd like to give you in this episode 2 is, as you remember, I said in episode 1, if you'd like to be convincing, you must first be convinced. And the same applies to being in a conversation with someone. If you want to have a good conversation, talk about what they're interested in. And you'll realize that whoever you're speaking to is just going to flow in the conversation, and they're just going to talk away and away and away, and they're going to also get emotionally involved because you're talking about what they care about. And when you leave, now they're going to be like, wow, I love that person. Like, I love talking to that person. And they're not really going to be able to pinpoint what it is most of the time unless they've studied the things that I've studied and they've made it aware. They've brought consciousness into their subconscious. Then they might be able to comprehend what it is that you're doing. But as I said, if you'd like to be convincing, be convinced. And in the same way, if you would like to be an interesting person, you need to be interested in other people, in nature, in your habits, in your passions, right? But also be interested in other people's passions. Be interested in other people's interests. And this will allow the conversation to flow naturally. And if you're thinking, well, how will I talk about what I like, that's selfish. Most of the time, you don't need to worry about that. That's your ego coming in saying, what about me, right? Your ego is not your amigo in most cases. What you'll notice naturally, to help soothe your mind in that area, is that when you're interested in other people, they will naturally be interested in you, and they will ask you. And this is a great networking tip that I've noticed for myself, is that if you come in and out the gate like talking about this is what I do, this is my business, this is how I can help, people are often like, cool, you know, like they take a step back. But if you are interested in what they do, and you kind of just say like, I create digital programs, and then you ask them questions about themselves, they're going to circle back to that real quick, especially if you say it in a way that's intriguing, and especially if you're interested in what they're doing. Furthermore, if you express gratitude, right, recognition, every person I've met in my entire life craves recognition. So why don't we give that to other people? Why don't we appreciate other people for who they are and what they do? Start doing this would be my suggestion. And if you do, watch and see what happens. I want to invite you to take some time each day to start meditating, family. And you will see why, because the act of meditation brings you to the present. When you live in the present, you are at peace. There's nothing wrong with the present moment. This moment right now, you with me, is beautiful. It's perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. As Ram Dass used to say, it's all perfect. But I'd like to go more into this whole presence thing, possibly in another podcast. Maybe episode 3, stay tuned. But when I say be present, I want you to understand that every time you've lived in the past, right, like mentally, if you're thinking about things in the past, these things are out of your control. You can't change the past. You can recontextualize how you see the past, of course. This is, once again, a topic for another conversation. But when you live in the past, you often live with regret. Or you live with a feeling of, I wish I would have done this. Once again, that's regret or fear, right? Fear of not being enough. Fear of being judged by other people. Once again, I invite you to let go of these things, because it is you that's holding on to them. Past, present, and future. You see what happens when you live in the future, you can feel anxiety. Because, once again, you don't have full control over the future. But I will remind you, you do have full control over the present. You decide how you feel today, right now. There may be things that knock you off center, knock you off balance, but at the end of the day, nobody can enter your inner kingdom unless they are invited. It is through invitation that we allow people into our lives. And if you are the way I used to be, entertaining certain people-pleasing qualities, or perfectionism, I invite you to let go of these things too. Because these things are not serving you the way you think they may be. Yes, perfectionism can allow you to be productive. But at the root of perfectionism is someone who is unhappy with everything. They want everything to be perfect. They want their life to be perfect. They want themselves to be perfect. They want their body to be perfect. They want other people to be perfect. They want their career to be perfect. But this is a projection of the mind, family. You have to understand that it's already all perfect. The way God created it. Not the way you see it. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate to me when I say, it's like when you set up a plan, right? When you put a plan into place, very rarely do things go according to plan. But a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. Especially when you take action on these things. So, we're going to delve more into gratitude because this is the topic of conversation for the day. Once again, welcome to the LLL, Leo's Linguistic Library. This is episode 2. And I printed out a little picture for you guys. Hopefully you can see that clearly. This is the vibrational frequency chart, demonstrated through color as well as emotions. If you've studied chakras at all, you see that it's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, indigo and violet. And as it goes up, your vibration raises. If you remember correctly, in the previous episode, I spoke about how Nikola Tesla said that if you wish to better understand the universe, you must think in terms of frequency, energy, and vibration. This is what he was talking about. This is one of the aspects that he was talking about, because Nikola Tesla was a genius, and it's difficult to encapsulate these complex concepts and formulate them and articulate them in a compendious way that is digestible for my viewers, but this is my goal nonetheless, because I believe that this is a true sign of intelligence, being able to take complex concepts and translate them into digestible formats for people. And this is something that, big shout out to one of my mentors, Bob Proctor, Happy Transcendence. He helped me understand this, but not by telling me, by showing me. And all of his programs, TIR being one of them, Thinking into Results, he took these very complex concepts and he helped me understand them in such a way that I was able to take action and apply them. And I think this is such a beautiful thing, and it's something that I embody today. As I said in the previous episode, I aspire to inspire, because I know that there's going to be someone watching this, might just be you, that is going to take what I'm saying to heart, and is going to take action, full action, massive action, and these actions are going to pay you back tenfold. For if any of you understand how the Fibonacci sequence works, it gets bigger and bigger. We live in a universe of mathematics, right? Going back to this chart, gratitude is one of the highest frequencies. It's near the heart chakra, right? Most people are in low vibrational energies. They are stuck in their root chakra, feeling emotions like shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear. And I'll do something that Tony Robbins did for me once. I want you to close your eyes and imagine. When you imagine someone who is grateful, how does he look? How's his posture? Is he smiling? How do you think he feels besides grateful, right? Loving, caring, open, helpful. These are higher vibrational frequencies. We raise our frequency. We raise our vibration. And this is what this is doing right now. This is what I am doing right now, in hopes that you do the same in your life. For I know the benefit that it will have for you. So, real quick, one thing I'd like to say, if ever you're stuck in your mind, get in your body. Start moving, go for a run, do a workout, drop and give me 20 push-ups, right? If ever you feel stuck, there's always a way out of being stuck. And before I go into the examples that I wanted to demonstrate within this podcast, within this episode, I'd like you to once again close your eyes and imagine yourself feeling the lower vibrational energies, shame, guilt, apathy, and grief. When you feel these emotions, on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, what would you rank yourself? For me, it's low. 2, 3, maybe 4. And now do the same thing, but with positive emotions, with high vibrational frequencies. Feelings like happiness, gratitude, giving, right? Forgiveness, love. On a scale from 1 to 10, where would you rank yourself? Feel free to drop down in the comments below if you'd like to. But this isn't for you to communicate and engage, it's more for you. I want you to visualize this. Did you know, family, that we have over 40,000 thoughts a day? And usually about 35,000 of them are negative. This is the average person. This is the average life. But that can be changed. And if you'd like to change this, I invite you real quick, get yourself like a bracelet or something, a watch, a bracelet, a rubber band, and keep it on your wrist for 7 days. Every time you notice this bracelet, it could be a ring as well, just anything that catches your attention often. every time you notice this particular bracelet, I want you to tap into what you're thinking. Become conscious, become aware of what it is that you are thinking. And then ask yourself, is it positive or negative? Oftentimes you'll see it's most likely negative. But through mindful awareness, we can change this. Especially when you make a decision that you want to be happy. A great example I like to give is, how long does it take to buy a car? If you haven't decided to buy a car, it might take some time. But if I decide today, I'm going to go buy this car, I'm going to go buy that car, it's done. It's already bought in my mind. It's a decision. And a lot of the time, we decide to be negative. We decide to be a victim. I invite you to let go of that. I invite you to let go of that because I see more in you. I see more potential in you, Ashe. You are worth more than negative thoughts. And I love you unconditionally. Understand that. I'm not saying I'll love you only when you're positive. I love you unconditionally, the same way I love myself. Learn to show yourself the love that you deserve. A difficult lesson I had to learn for myself, which I'm finally implementing these days, is that I am learning to receive love from others the same way I give. Because if you don't do that, then you just end up drained. How can you constantly give and give and give and give and never receive? A great example I like to give, or a great analogy that I like to demonstrate when I'm dealing with relationships, right? People that are struggling with their partner. I say, imagine your relationship as a bank account. Let's look at it fiscally. Imagine you guys have a joint bank account, okay? And the woman is making deposits and deposits and deposits and then will withdraw. And then she makes more deposits and deposits and deposits. The man in the relationship is doing withdraw, 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 maybe a deposit, not a really big deposit, withdraw, withdraw, withdraw. Is this going to be a successful bank account? Bank account meaning relationship? No. We need to be giving first. And another great analogy I like to give is, you can't go to a stovetop and say, give me heat. Or a fireplace, and say, give me heat. You need to get the wood first. You need to light the flame first. You need to get all of the materials that are necessary to create a fire in order to enjoy heat. This is the same in relationships. This is the same in life. You need to do what needs to be done. Put some skin in the game. Pay the price up front at the door and don't bargain. Don't ask for a discount. Do what needs to be done and do it with gratitude. You see, because this is how you can raise your frequency, raise your vibration. If you do something and you mope along and you're tired and you're complaining and because misery loves company, as we all know. But this is ignorance. And I know a lot of people say ignorance is bliss, but I disagree. I believe ignorance is expensive pain. And sometimes we realize this a little too late, which is why I am reminding you today, so that you don't have to remember when it's too late. I want you to remember now, in the present moment. Ashe. So let's dive into a few examples that happened to me this week that I'd like to share with you guys. I woke up recently with some pain in my foot. Kind of difficult to explain where it came from. I don't know. To be fair, I don't know. This pain in my foot makes it difficult for me to put any type of weight on my left foot, for now. And because some of the work that I do requires heavy lifting for the time being, I had to take some time off of work, right? Now, this can be seen as a negative thing. I don't see it as a negative thing. I'm grateful that the rest of my body is healthy. I'm grateful that I have a strong mind and a good philosophy for life. I'm grateful that my other foot is strong enough to support me during this time. I am killing the problem with gratitude. You understand? Part B of this section. because I'm having issues with my foot, and I don't like to put, and it's uncomfortable to put, not that I don't like, it's a little uncomfortable to put pressure on it, I parked a little bit closer, right? And because I parked on the street overnight, I got a ticket on my car. A parking ticket, okay? Now, this can be seen as a negative thing, but I flipped it on its head. I express gratitude. Why? Because I have a fucking car. Most people don't have a car, right? I'm grateful that I have the finances to pay that bill and not even think about it. I'm grateful that I get to look into the future and realize there's going to be a time and place where I can look back with my brother Pat and laugh about that time where we had to pay a parking ticket, or I had to pay a parking ticket because of XYZ. It's funny. It's a joke, right? It's something I'm grateful for. Once again, killing the problem with kindness, with gratitude. And the old Leo would have let this bother him. The old Leo would have allowed this to shrink him and make him feel miserable for the day and complain about it and talk to people, because misery loves company, as I said. Not anymore. I choose to be grateful. And I've noticed, even because I shared this with my brother Pat, and he was a little, we were on the phone, I could tell he was a little like, well, I wasn't expecting that. And it made me feel good, because I know I'm inspiring him to be more grateful in his life. And you see how, as I spoke about the Fibonacci sequence earlier, it has a expanding effect. When you are grateful for things, other people choose to be grateful for things. And I'd like to remind you, reflection, that your mind, it cannot hold a positive and a negative thought simultaneously. It's one or the other. One or the other. So choose what you'd like to feel, think, and embody. And choose wisely. And I would say also, if you feel like this is difficult and this is challenging, don't feed into that thought. Let go of that. One person that really inspired me growing up was Kobe. Happy transcendence once again. One quote that really stuck with me from his Mamba mentality is when he was talking about fourth quarter, clutch time, crunch time, right? He said in an interview once, you know, I do feel tired in the fourth quarter, but you're crazy if you think that I'm going to verbalize that. If you think I'm going to actually say to my teammates, I'm tired, what the fuck are you talking about, bro? Why would you even say that? Think of the effect that has on the team's morale. Kobe is the leader of the team. If the leader is tired, well, then that means the role players can be tired. That means the bench can be tired. That means everyone else can be tired because, look, our leader is tired. Kobe never allowed that to happen. I've seen my man hit 2 free throws with a tore Achilles. I've seen him put that finger right back in the socket and get back in the game. Do you have any idea what kind of fear that put in his opponent, knowing that he was that tough? Dude, it's amazing. It's inspiring. He inspired me. And this is why I'm sharing this with you in this moment, so he can inspire you. He lives on through us, through our memory, in our hearts. Continue to be grateful, family. Exercise this skill. It's a muscle. Just like when you go to the gym, you start going in the gym, you don't start curling 50s. You start with 5s, 10s, 15s, 20, 30, 40, 50. I know people that get in the gym and they're curling 200 pounds like it's nothing. But they didn't start there. It's a muscle. Just like your mind is a muscle. You need to exercise these muscles in order to make them stronger. In order for you to be stronger. And it makes your body stronger as well as your mind. One thing I enjoy doing is cold showers. Why? Because I don't like it. And it's every day it's something I do because, for one, I'm competing with myself. I always compete with myself, and I always try to be better than the version of me that was yesterday. And the other thing is that it builds this anti-fragility that I was talking about before. It calluses the mind, because the mind is a terrible master, but it is a fantastic worker. One last thing that I'd like to share with you guys before we end the podcast. Earlier I said Your ego is not your amigo, right? But it can be. And this is what I mean by that. Consider this. Consider promoting your ego, which is something your ego would love. Wouldn't your ego love a promotion? Wouldn't your ego love to be promoted and acknowledged? But not promoting it in a, I'm the best, I'm better than you. Promote it to the position of the observer. What do I mean by this? I was talking earlier about past, present, and future. When you are present, you are observant. People notice this. You will start to notice this. And the thing about the ego is that it doesn't miss much. It catches a lot of things. So think of the repercussions of this. If you can promote your ego, which obviously is a good thing for the ego, and it becomes the observer, and it observes well, and it starts to get very, very good at observing, you become more present. You become the type of person that can embody presence more, awareness more, consciousness more. Ashe. Don't forget that you're doing the best you can. Everybody's doing the best they can. And don't be too hard on yourself. We are all trying our best, which doesn't mean that we can't improve. But I do invite you to be more loving with yourself. Tap into that inner dialogue, that self-talk, and understand your psycho-cybernetics. Fantastic book. Shout out to Maxwell Waltz. If you guys haven't read this book, I highly recommend. He was a plastic surgeon who helped people with plastic surgeries. And a good example is, like, let's say this girl wanted to get a nose job. She would get the surgery, and then she would come back later and ask to get the surgery again to shrink her nose. And then she would go home, come back, get the surgery again. And after a while, he started asking her, like, your nose is minuscule. What are you talking about? Why do you want to get another nose job? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm not complaining. You're paying me crazy amounts of money to do this. But I'm curious, why do you think your nose is big? And then he realized it's the self-image, family. It's the self-image reflections. It's the way you see yourself, which also has a huge amount to do with the way you speak to yourself. And I ask you, is this negative or is it positive? Do you express gratitude to yourself? And if you don't express gratitude to yourself, how can you genuinely express gratitude to others? Right? Because I truly believe that you can only love others to the degree that you love yourself. Learn to love yourself more. Learn to spend time with yourself more. Learn to say no to others if it's not a yes to you. Because boundaries don't make you a dick. Boundaries make you secure. Boundaries express self-love. And as I said before, if you have people-pleasing properties and perfectionism qualities, learn to create a frame. A frame is another word for boundaries, right? Learn to be in your own frame. If you are an empath and you are highly empathic, understand that sometimes you feel other people's energy more than you feel your own, which is great. That's a gift. It's a gift and a curse. But don't overlook the power of your own energy. Don't overlook the beauty of what you are. And I invite you to do so. Once again, I want to give a special shout out to my ancestors and all praise to the Most High. Thank you for listening to another LLL podcast, Leo's Linguistic Library, Episode 2. Signing off. Peace. Positive energy always creates elevation.